Hi, I'm Nico. Welcome to my Introduction to Yoga or Back to Basics 3-part series. I'm calling it both because I really do think it will be beneficial for people who have either never practiced yoga before or those people who have been practicing maybe for a while and just want to go back and make sure that they know the alignment, know how to use props, and all these types of things. This is so that we can start to build a practice that feels good in our bodies. So yes, I will be talking about the alignment that poses should be. But what I really want you to take out of this is how to make poses feel good in your body. So if you have a couple blocks, they would be really helpful. You can order them online, or for the time being, maybe you just use a water bottle or a book or something that you can prop yourself up on. And I want you to think about blocks as something that's helping your body. They're not for beginners or people that are bad at yoga, because I use blocks all the time. My body doesn't always want to go into the certain shapes that maybe Ashtanga practitioners want to go into. So I love blocks, and we'll be talking through a lot of different ways to use them. So it would be really helpful to have something. That being said, let's get started. And I like to start each practice with just a little bit of silence. So find a comfortable seat. If you have a block, I love sitting on top of a block, either with feet out wide or crossed in front of you. If it feels comfortable, let's close the eyes and we'll start with a few deep breaths. Make sure your spine is long and you can move your seat around if you need to lengthen. One thing that I'll emphasize here is that yoga is not just about this physical practice, but it is the easiest thing the physical body to get in touch with. So start to notice any physical tension that you feel. Notice if you can start to relax and let go of the tension as you breathe. Next time you exhale, keep all of the air out. Take a big inhale through your nose to fill. Feel your heart space, your lungs, your belly, your shoulders expand and lift and open. Hold there at the top. Expand a little more, sip in a little bit more air. Open mouth, exhale, let it all go. Let your breath come back to normal or natural. Maybe you tip your chin down towards your chest so that you can slowly open your eyes. And then we'll start to find a little bit of movement. We'll meet in tabletop position. So come onto your hands and your knees. Bring your knees directly underneath the hips or hands underneath the shoulders. One thing I'll say right now is that as yoga teachers, we cue shoulder width and hip width distance alignment quite a bit. If you ever need to go wider with either hands or knees or feet, always feel free to, if that feels better in your body. Especially those with tight shoulders, it sometimes feels a lot better to spread the hands a little bit wider. So in tabletop, knees underneath hips, hands underneath shoulders. Feel free to adjust that in any way that you need to. We'll start by finding a little bit of cat-cow. So as you inhale, drop your belly down to the ground, tilt your tailbone up towards the sky. Broaden through the collarbones, lift your chin up. This is cow pose. Lengthen through the spine. As you exhale, cat pose, tip your tailbone down towards the ground. Tuck your belly button up towards the sky. Bring your chin towards your chest. Do that a couple more times. As you inhale, cow pose, belly goes down, chin goes up. Exhale, cat, round through the spine. Really press into the hands, stretch through the backs of your shoulder blades. One more time, inhale, cow pose, drop the belly, lift the chin. Exhale, cat, round the spine. Inhale, come back to a neutral spine. So neutral spine is nice and long. Tailbone reaches back, crown of your head reaches forward. Plant down into your hands. You might bring your left knee a little bit closer towards the center, and then we're going to lift the right leg up and back. Kick it straight back behind you. Energize through the toes. So either flex the foot or point it. Just don't let it be hanging, floppy like a fish back there. So energize the toes either way. And then as you exhale, bring your right knee to your nose, find cat pose. As you press your belly button up towards the sky, bring your knees towards your nose as close as you can. We'll do that 2 more times with the breath. Inhale, extend, kick your right foot back, lengthen through the crown of the head. Exhale, knee to nose, bring it in, squeeze. Use the core. 1 more time, inhale, bring it back. And exhale, bring it in. Inhale, kick your right foot back behind you, lengthen through your spine. Option 1, keep doing that same thing, or we'll bring the left hand forward, practicing the balance here. Really expand through the left fingertips. Big inhale to lengthen through the spine, and then exhale, elbow to knee, squeeze the core, bring your right knee towards your left elbow underneath you. 2 more times, inhale, lengthen, extend. Exhale, elbow to knee, bring it in. 1 more, inhale, lengthen. And exhale, bring it in. Inhale, lengthen, extend. Keep your left hand lifted as you exhale, drop your right knee down to the ground. Press into your right hand as you inhale, reach your left hand up towards the sky. Bring your left shoulder on top of the right shoulder. Exhale, thread the needle, bring your left hand underneath the heart space. Reach over towards the right, drop your left shoulder down to the ground. If that doesn't feel comfortable for you, bring a block underneath and drop your right shoulder down to the block. It might feel good to press your right hand down into the ground and lift your right shoulder up towards the sky. It also might feel good to reach your right hand forward in front of you. Bring your right hand underneath your right shoulder. Press into your right hand. Inhale, bring your left hand up towards the sky. Exhale, drop your left hand down onto the ground. Switching out sides, ground down into your right knee. Maybe bring it into center a little bit. Extend your left leg back behind. Energize through the toes, lengthen through the spine. Take a big inhale here. Exhale, knee to nose. Use your core to bring it in. Round, hold. Press into the hands. Press up through the back of your chest like cat pose. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, lengthen, extend. Exhale, knee to nose. Bring it in. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, lengthen, kick your left foot back, ground down into your left hand. Option to stay here and just do the leg, or bring your right hand forward. You'll notice I will offer lots of options. I always want you to take what feels best in your body. The most advanced yoga practitioner knows what feels best in their body and goes there, rather than doing the hardest physical challenge. So inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bring your elbow to your knee underneath and squeeze. 2 more times, inhale, lengthen, extend. Exhale, elbow to knee. 1 more, inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bring it in. Inhale, lengthen, extend. Keep your right hand lifted, drop your left knee underneath your left hip. As you inhale, reach your right hand up towards the sky. Stack your right shoulder on top of the left, really open up. As you exhale, thread the needle, swoop your right hand underneath the heart space, over towards the left, drop your right shoulder and right ear down to the ground or a block. Maybe you press that left hand down into the ground to lift the shoulder a little higher, or reach the left hand out and extend the arm in front of you. Drop your left hand underneath your left shoulder as you inhale, reach your right hand up towards the sky. As you exhale, drop your right hand underneath the right shoulder again. Finding high plank, we'll walk the hands about a handprint in front of where they are now. Rack your shoulders so that they're on top of the wrist. Tuck your toes underneath your feet and then lift your knees up off of the ground. So your heels should be stacked on top of your toes. Your hands should be underneath the shoulders. You might need to widen that stance a little bit. Lengthen through the spine, keep the chin lifted, but the top of the neck should be in line with the top of the spine. If this feels like too much right now, you can always drop your knees down to the ground. Just keep the spine long and notice if your bum is sagging or pulling up towards the sky. See if you can find one long straight diagonal line from heels out the crown of the head. Next exhale, press into the hands, roll your hips up and back, find downward facing dog. Lift your heels up towards the sky, bend your knees just a little bit, and really lift your tailbone up towards the sky. Press into the hands even more, lengthen through the spine as much as you possibly can. This is how long the spine should always be. You can always keep the knees bent and downward facing. It's not about how close your heels can be to the ground. Just press into the hands, lengthen through the spine, let your head hang heavy and relax. As you inhale, look forward in between your hands, and then take little baby footsteps. Walk your feet up to your hands at the front of the mat. We'll find ragdoll pose here. Bring your feet about hip-width distance, bend the knees really deeply, let your spine and heart space release on top of the thighs. If the ground feels really far away at any moment, you can always bring blocks underneath the hands here. I like to really let my chest rest on my legs and bring your hands to opposite elbows. Maybe you sway right and left. Let your head hang heavy so that you're really allowing your head itself, the weight of your head, to release the tension out from your spine. Bring your hands back underneath the shoulders, maybe on blocks, maybe on the ground, and then as you inhale, find your halfway lift. Lengthen through the legs, bring your hands to shins or thighs, reach the crown of your head forward. If this feels really uncomfortable for you and your hamstrings or your back, let's bring blocks underneath the hands and prop them underneath the shoulders. This gives a lot more stability in the legs here and a lot less pressure in the back. Really feel that long, straight spine. Rock your weight into the balls of your feet so that you're not leaning back here. Pull the weight forward, lengthen through the spine a little bit more. As you exhale, fold forward. I like to bend my knees as I fold so that my hamstrings don't get mad. Inhale again, halfway lift, lengthen through the spine, reach the crown of the head forward. This time keep the spine nice and long. As you inhale, upward salute, bring the hands all the way up overhead, reach tall. Press down into the feet, maybe lift the toes, spread them, bring them back down. Ground down into the feet, try to resist completely locking out the knees. Keep them relaxed, but keep the legs engaged. Pull your pubic bone up towards the belly button, engage through the core here, open up through the heart space. Reach the fingertips up, but relax the shoulders. Don't press them hard down towards the hips, but just relax. If the hands don't feel comfortable being up overhead, you can always bring them right here or keep them at the hips. As you exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Pull them down so that your thumbs are touching your heart space. Lengthen through the spine even more. A lot of times we like to pull that tailbone back and arch through the lower spine. Let's use the core to pull the pubic bone up and forward. Inhale, upward salute, root to rise, reach tall through the fingertips. As you exhale, forward fold, release the heart space down as you bend into the knees. Let it go. Inhale to your halfway lift, lengthen through the spine. Press into the blocks if they're underneath the shoulders. As you exhale, plant your hands down on the ground. Bend your knees as much as you need to in order to do that, and slowly walk your feet back until you find your high plank position. Again, you can always drop your knees in high plank, especially if this is sensitive in the wrists. As you inhale, charge your heels forward. Drop your knees down to the ground or keep them lifted. Start to bend into the elbows, slowly lowering your upper body onto the ground. Your hips and your heart should reach at the same time. Flip to the tops of your feet. Don't press into the hands, just press into the tops of the feet. Use the strength of your glutes and your lower back to lift the heart space up. Your hands can be touching the ground, but don't press down into the hands. Try to resist that. Relax your shoulders, press into the tops of the feet, lift the heart space a little bit higher. Lengthen through the spine. Exhale, release, let it go. Inhale, cobra pose, press into the tops of the feet, lift up through the heart space. If you choose to press into the hands here a little bit more, make sure that your shoulders aren't coming up towards the ears. Make sure they're relaxed. They stay here, that same distance away from your shoulders. Maybe you press into the hands, but the shoulders stay relaxed. Exhale, release, let it go. You could always bring the feet wider here if this feels better in your lower back. I like to keep mine close to really use my glutes and the strength of my legs. Inhale, lift up, find your cobra. Exhale, release, let it go. Plant your hands onto the ground, tuck your toes underneath your feet. Inhale to your tabletop position. Exhale, child's pose. Bring your knees wide, bring your big toes to touch behind you. Press your hips to your heels as you reach the hands forward. Child's pose can be tricky for some of us, especially if we don't have a lot of mobility in our knees. So one thing we can do for that is bringing a block underneath the sit bones. Another thing that we can do if this doesn't feel good for the hips is bringing the knees a little bit closer or wider apart. Feel free to play and explore in your own body to feel which feels best for you. For me, this tends to be a lot in the shoulders, so sometimes I like to swoop my hands back towards the heels to give my shoulders a little bit of a rest. So that was our sun salutation A, nice and slow. We're going to go through that 2 more times, one a little bit faster, and the next time we'll do it breath to movement. When you're ready, we'll find our plank pose. So bring the hands forward, bring your shoulders on top of the wrists. Press your feet back and lift the knees. Again, your knees can always be on the ground if you need them to be. Press into the hands and then press the hips up towards the sky. Find your downward facing dog. Press into your hands, rotate your inner elbows forward so that your shoulders open up. Let your head hang heavy, maybe bend into the knees to lengthen through the spine. Inhale, look forward and between the hands. Exhale, step, walk, hop, or float. Bring your feet to your hands. The first time we walked the feet to the hands, you could either walk again, maybe you bring one foot and then the other, or you could play with floating. If you do so, bend into the knees and then hop the feet forward to the hands. If you do that, make sure you land with bent knees and bent elbows, and then inhale, find your halfway lift. Blocks underneath the hands or hands to shins, lengthen through the spine. This time, option to bring the big toes together, heels separated slightly. By this, I mean the outsides of your feet should be parallel with the sides of the mat. You can always do this or bring the feet to hip-width distance apart. Again, explore in your body, do whatever feels best for you. Lengthen through the spine in your halfway lift. Exhale, release to your fold. I like to bend into my knees. Lengthen through the spine first, long straight spine, and then upward salute, reach the hands up overhead. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center, Samastitihi. Pull the pubic bone up towards the belly button, engage through the core, lengthen through your lower back, lift up through the spine, reach the crown of your head tall. Press into the feet as you inhale, reach the hands up, upward salute. Exhale, forward fold, dive over the hips. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen through the spine, press into the hands down to the ground or the shins or blocks. As you exhale, plant the hands to the ground, walk the feet back, find your high plank position. Okay, now if you want to, you can drop your knees and just look at me. For a moment, we're going to talk about connecting vinyasa. So the first time what we did is we inhaled, charged the heels forward, exhale, lower all the way down to the ground, foot to the tops of the feet, inhale, cobra. Exhale, release. Tuck your toes. Inhale through tabletop or high plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. Our second option here is to go through upward facing dog. This is a lot more in the spine and in the shoulders, so just be careful here. Inhale, charge the heels forward. Exhale, come halfway down, elbows just outside the rib cage. If your elbows come above the rib cage like this, you've gone too far. So keep them underneath the rib cage, flip to the tops of the feet. Upward facing dog, pull the heart space through. Again, squeeze the glutes, make sure your shoulders aren't pulling up towards the ears. So press into the hands, lengthen through the neck. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Roll your hips up and back. Take whichever one you choose. We'll meet in downward facing dog. Take a few breaths here and know that every time downward facing dog is said, child's pose is also an option. One more time, let's do all of that breath to movement. Inhale, look forward in between your hands. Exhale, step, walk, hop, or float. Find your forward fold at the front of the mat. Bend into the knees. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen through the legs. Bring hands to shins, thighs, or blocks. Reach the crown of your head forward. Exhale, forward fold, release. Inhale, upward salute, lengthen through the spine first, and then bring yourself all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, upward salute, root to rise, reach tall. Exhale, forward fold, bend the knees, let the heart space melt. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, plant your hands, walk your feet back to your high plank. Inhale, charge your heels forward. Take your connecting vinyasa, I'll walk through upward facing dog. Exhale, come halfway down, chaturanga, elbows just outside the rib cage. Inhale through your upward facing dog, pull the heart space through. Exhale, downward facing dog. Lift your hips up and back. Lovely. Drop down onto the knees. Sit back onto the heels. That was our sun salutation A. Let's cool it down from there. Feel free to go back and watch that a few times and really feel it through your body. Especially with those connecting vinyasas, you can always skip them. That's a lot in the wrists, a lot in the shoulders, a lot in the spine. So at any time, you can feel free to go straight back from high plank to downward facing dog. Skip the connecting vinyasa altogether. Let's find a seated forward fold. So sit onto one of your hips, swing your legs forward. Flex the toes, keep the legs straight out in front of you. If this feels really challenging or if you feel your lower back kind of gooing like this, let's bend the knees, maybe bring a pillow underneath them or bring blocks underneath the knees. Bending the knees releases a lot of tension in the lower back because it's all connected here. So block or bolster underneath the knees or legs straight down on the ground. Start by bringing the hands near the hips, lengthen through the spine, open up through the heart. Option to stay here or find your seated forward fold. Walk the hands forward, keep the spine long for now. Take a few breaths like that. Option to stay here or let the heart space melt all the way down. Start to walk your hands back up. Keep your left leg straight out in front of you. Cross your right ankle on top of your left knee. We'll find half Lord of Fishes. Bring your right hand back behind you. Cross your left elbow on top of the right knee and twist towards the right. Your right hand should be back behind you like a second spine to make sure you're nice and long. Release the elbow on top of the knee, bring it back through center. Kick the right foot back forward. We'll switch it out. Bring your left ankle, cross it on top of your right knee. Keep your left hand behind you. Cross your right elbow on top of the left knee. Twist to the left. Really use the left hand like a second spine or left arm like a second spine to lengthen and deepen into the twist. Bring it back through center. Kick both feet forward. Pull the sit bones forward, bend the knees, and release all the way down onto the back for our last position of the day, bridge pose. Bring your feet about hip width distance apart underneath the knees. Reach your hands towards your heels, and then press into your feet to lift your hips up off of the ground. Press your tailbone towards the calves so you're not tilting And arching the back, press it towards the calf, lift the spine. Maybe you scoot your shoulders underneath the heart space a little more. If it feels okay, maybe you interlace your fingers underneath your lower back. If that doesn't feel good, unrelease the grip. Keep squeezing your inner thighs in towards one another. Press the tailbone up towards the sky even more. Keep pressing the back of your head down into the mat gently so that there's a little bit of space between your chest and your chin. If you have your fingers interlaced, release them. Lift up onto the balls of your feet and slowly lower your hips back down to the ground. Let your knees come in, knock in towards one another. Bring one hand to heart, bring one hand to belly, and we'll end with 3 deep breaths. Start by exhaling all of your air out. Inhale, fill up. Big exhale out the mouth, let it go. 2 more, inhale, fill through the nose. Exhale, let it go. Last one, inhale, fill. And exhale, release. If you'd like to find Shavasana here, you're more than welcome to. I'm not going to guide you through it. For Shavasana, I recommend maybe you grab your phone and start a timer for 5 minutes and let yourself rest for about 5 minutes on your mat to let your mind clear. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and the next part of the series will be some more standing positions for you to try in your body. But see if you can go through this video a few more times, really nail down those Sun A postures, make them feel good in your body, and then move on. Thanks again. Namaste.